Hi, I'm talking today with Andrea Fehr, author of Freaking Out to Flying Free, Experience Freedom Amid the Chaos of Life. Don't we all need this book? Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, Faye. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. Listen, we're going to start talking here about some things about you as an author. So first off, does writing exhaust you or energize you?
Usually it energizes me. Sometimes by the end I'm a little exhausted because your own stuff as you write. But initially it is always exhilarating to get those thoughts that have been churning out.
Cool. Okay. So tell me about an early experience you had when you learned that language has power.
I think that would be, as a little kid, my dad would read to us, and I remember just being able to snuggle with him and imagine places, and it made learning how to read worth it. And then eventually in grade 7, we had a language that let us journal about whatever we wanted, and that's when I think the doors opened up for me.
Wow. Okay. Is there an author that you truly admire?
I have so many authors I admire. It's hard to narrow it down. I really enjoy Anne von Schamp's writing. I enjoy Beth Moore's book Audacious, and I enjoy Jim Simla, and many.
I hear you. Don't ask me to name just one. I'd have
Come
to
see my show.
So if you'll give me a list and I will pick the one out of that list, I can do that. Okay. So what kind of research did you do for your book, and how long did it take you?
That's a good question. My book is nonfiction, but it is my life stories too, parts of it. And so really it was more of going back and retracing what God had brought me through, so I could see, oh, that's a book he used at that point, and then I'd check it out a bit more. That's a passage that came up a lot, and so digging into those different sections. So as long as it took me to write the book is as long as it took me to do the research, I guess.
There you go. Was there anything that you edited out of Freaking Out to Flying Free?
Yep, there was the mouse story that didn't make the cut.
The mouse story. Okay. Should we ask you for that one?
You should. It's a great story.
So tell it to us.
Well, I grew up terrified of mice, and my mom would jump up on the table if she saw a mouse, and so I'm like, oh my goodness, we should be terrified. And so part of my freedom journey was learning to deal with my fear, right? And so the day when a mouse ran up to my vehicle, and I actually just looked, he's cute, and then started yelling for it to get away from my vehicle, was my victory day for mice. And I'm like, but it was kind of long to put in the book, so.
Well, there you go. Maybe another book.
There you go.
There you go. All right. And then tell me, what does literary success look like for you?
Literary success for me has already happened, because it was that moment years ago when I actually went from journaling to actually starting a blog, letting people into my life, and then from there now having a book to actually say that I am an author and this is my book. So
what does it feel like to you when people say that they have read your book and that it has changed their lives?
It's incredible. It really is. When you get those texts or notes where people are like, that really hit me. I just can't believe it. God is so faithful to usually send me one of those right when I'm like, is this even going anywhere? Does anyone even read this thing? So he's faithful.
Okay. Let's switch and talk about your book.
Okay.
Tell me briefly about the journey before you wrote the book.
My journey was that I was a stay-at-home mom of 4 kiddos, and the whole time I'd had chronic illness, and so I just was living life, but it was a real struggle. So when God told me to write the book, it was like, oh man, how will that happen? And little did I know that it was, so that is pretty exciting too.
So then tell me, how has that journey enabled you to serve others now?
Well, it has hugely enabled me to serve others, because when God nudged my heart to write this book on freedom, I'm like, what? This is a huge topic. How and where do I start? And then he just really rethink over the last years, where have I seen freedom in my life? And then from there, together, well, he showed me his framework that he taught me, which I can now teach to other people. So
That's fabulous. So was there something that just compelled you, that just pushed you to write this book?
It really was just God. I remember telling a friend that there's no way I'd write a book unless God really just made it obvious. And sure enough, 2017, he coaching, or we were in a coaching group, me and my husband, about goal setting. And it was there that it got solidified that now's the time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, right now? So took that.
I'm just a little involved here, Lord.
That was loud. Okay.
Okay. So now tell me the difference between living as a Pharisee and living free.
So a Pharisee, laws that were in the Bible, and then added laws to it, so it made it more complicated, more burdensome. And living free is when we just acknowledge that Christ has set us free in himself, and as we are enjoying his love, we can live out of his love, and we do that through paying attention to the biblical principles that he's laid out for us, and by walking in relationship with him. So for my own self, I was definitely enjoyed knowing rules, because then I'm like, okay, if I know that I need to do this and this, then I can do that and stay on the straight and narrow. And God's like, yeah, no, it's about relationships. So that was a breakthrough for me when I moved from following rules to relationship, was what changed everything.
Right. And so tell me then, what is it that you hope your book will achieve in the lives of your readers?
My book is all about developing awareness. It's about developing awareness for where your freedom is getting stolen, and then to turn to the freedom provides. Because my ultimate desire is that we would each just grow in enjoying our everyday Savior and his everyday freedom.
That is so awesome. So best thing we can do is get out there and buy Freaking Out to Flying Free, so that we can understand what to do in this chaos. I don't think I know a woman who would not say that her world is just chaotic, and especially at this season.
Right. Very.
So, I'm thinking, husbands, you might want to buy this for your wives. I'm just saying. Andrea, thank you so much for coming and allowing me to interview you and pick your brain and just sharing with us.
No problem, Faith. Thanks so much for the invitation.
Awesome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.